Congratulations, you've just woken up in the year 1405. The good news, you're alive. The bad news, so are your rivals who want nothing more than to outmaneuver you in this cutthroat trade environment. You blink awake with a sudden realization that you're not in your cozy modern bed, but on a hard wooden floor of your market stall. Your bedding is a tangle of straw and old rags that smell like last year's fish market leftovers, with the added charm of fleas hopping about like they own the place. Your first instinct is to grab your hat, which looks more like an ancient version of a baseball cap made from stiffened cloth, but it's not there. Scene: a merchant rummaging through a cluttered stall filled with jars of spices and bolts of silk. It's hanging on a peg outside, where it has been claimed by the morning wind for an hour now. The sun is high overhead, casting harsh shadows over the marketplace that's already alive with haggling and bartering. You can hear the clatter of coins being exchanged for goods, mingled with the sharp sound of bamboo sticks counting out prices, a symphony of commerce in full swing. Scene: a merchant glancing at a nearby stall where merchants are comparing notes on silk prices. It's like Uber, but with horses and plague. You're behind schedule before you've even had your first cup of tea. But here's what nobody expected. Right as you try to push yourself up off the floor, your eyes meet those of a local official who just happens to be inspecting for counterfeit goods. And he doesn't look too pleased. Scene: a merchant sweating nervously under the gaze of an imperial inspector in traditional Ming Dynasty garb. Suddenly, staying one step ahead isn't about outsmarting rivals, it's about avoiding getting caught up in something much bigger and more dangerous than you ever bargained for. You realize that your life as a merchant is not just about trading goods and making money. It's also about navigating an intricate web of regulations, rivalries, and risks. You have no time to lose. Scene: a merchant hastily stuffing supplies back into his stall. But there's one more thing you didn't anticipate your day, isn't even officially started yet. You need the next part because, well, where are those guards rushing towards now? And what do they want from you this morning? You're about to open for business when suddenly, two guards in heavy armor rush towards you. One carries a scroll under his arm, while the other wields a sword that glints ominously in the dim light. But here's the thing. You think as your heart starts racing, why are they coming after you? And what does this mean for your day of selling silk and spices? Well, one guard says gruffly, this is a surprise. But here's the thing, it isn't. You've heard stories about officials coming to demand taxes or inspect goods, but this seems different. It's like Uber, but with horses and plague. You try to stall for time by asking what they're after, but the guard just waves his scroll in your face without answering, like a magician refusing to reveal how he does his tricks. Lucky you, he sneers, handing it over to you instead. You'd think it was just another tax notice. Maybe it's a new law about trading hours. But here's what nobody expected. This isn't about taxes or rules. It's something else entirely. You realize that this document is actually an order from the local magistrate. He demands that all merchants like yourself must present a portion of their goods to the imperial court by the end of the week on pain of imprisonment and public shaming. It's as if someone just dropped a bowling ball into your stomach. And here's where everything changes when you notice that he's not actually expecting an answer right away. He wants to see what you'll do next. You're caught in the middle of a bureaucratic storm, one that can easily turn against you if you misstep. As he leaves, the other merchants begin to cluster around your shop, whispering and glancing nervously between each other, and the guards who are now moving on to their next target. You wonder how many others have received similar orders. You could take this news calmly and start making plans for compliance or maybe even rebellion. But here's the real kicker: the guards aren't the only ones who'll be watching your next move. The crowd is too. You blink into the light, realizing that today isn't just about selling silk and spices, it's also about survival in a world where one wrong decision could mean everything. But what will you do when they come for your goods next? You sigh deeply as you spot those familiar dark blue uniforms of the Imperial Guards coming straight for you. Just when you thought you were outsmarting them by setting up a trap with fake goods, now they're here to inspect your real ones. But what will you do when they come for your goods next? But here's the thing. When an official approaches, it's not just about being inspected, it's about survival. You brace yourself as one of them pulls out a ledger to record your wares. Another checks for imperfections that could be ground for punishment or fines. And just when you thought it couldn't get worse, they start questioning every detail about your business. Where do these bolts of silk come from? One asks in a no-nonsense tone. You feel like you're being interrogated by the IRS and the NSA combined. You'd think it was just a formality. Maybe they're here to ensure fair trade practices. Maybe they're even helping out local businesses. Actually, it's anything but helpful. The inspection turns into a full-blown audit of every transaction and inventory item you've ever had. Suddenly, everything changes when the head guard looks at you directly and says, "This is not enough." He points to your stall, indicating that you need more goods on display. More silk, more spices, more risk of being caught with contraband or overpriced items. You start sweating like a marathon runner finishing the race, knowing full well that if your supplies aren't up to snuff, you face penalties or worse. But here's what nobody expected. You're left wondering how much more you can really handle before it all collapses. Your heart races as they depart, leaving behind a trail of doubt and worry. But probably not for long. You notice a small crowd forming around you. But as they approach, you realize it's not to buy your wares, it's something far more terrifying. You feel a cold sweat break out as you nod, hoping they'll take pity on you. But here's the thing. These aren't just any customers. These are tax collectors sent by the local magistrate to ensure no merchant is skirting taxes or smuggling goods across borders. And their methods are anything but gentle. You'd think you could just tell them about your meager supplies and how little money you have. Maybe they'll take pity on a struggling merchant. But probably not. And that's when everything changes. You try to explain your situation, but it's like talking to a brick wall. They demand a tax you can't possibly pay. You feel your heart sink into your stomach. This is not how you imagined starting your new life. You think this might be your chance to escape, or at least get some help. Maybe those soldiers are here to protect merchants from these thuggish tax collectors. But that's probably not what is happening. Suddenly, your world gets even darker. These aren't just regular soldiers. They're likely guards sent to protect the interests of local officials from merchants like yourself, people who might try to fight back against unfair taxes. Your mind races as you realize there's no way out. You're trapped between these cruel collectors and their well-armed protectors. But here's what nobody expected. As they drag you away, a small group of merchants from nearby stalls starts to gather around your empty stall, whispering urgently among themselves. They offer to buy your remaining goods at double the price. It's like finding an oasis in a desert, but you know better than to trust them. They could be planning something more sinister like taking your inventory and running off with it. You wonder if this might be the local magistrate or a powerful merchant come to offer help. Maybe they have some influence over these tax collectors, but probably not. And that's all before breakfast. You finally managed to sell your last piece of silk, feeling like you just closed a deal on a used car with a pushy salesman. But here's the thing. Scene. You notice a man walking past your stall, carrying an ornate scroll case under his arm. The guy looks important and wealthy, maybe even a high-ranking official. He stops to look at your goods, but doesn't say anything. You start feeling pretty good about yourself until you see him take out the scroll. It's like he just pulled out a secret decoder ring that suddenly makes everything more complicated. Scene. The man with the scroll studies your stall, his expression unreadable as he looks over every item. He seems to be checking something, you think. Your first instinct is that they're here to arrest someone else, but you notice every merchant within sight looks as nervous as a cat in a room full of rocking chairs. Scene. The guard steps closer, his tone sharp and authoritative. You feel like the floor drops out from under your feet when he says, "Your goods don't match this tax list." You think maybe they just got the wrong stall mixed up? Maybe you'll get off with a warning. But here's what nobody expected. Scene: the guard pulls out a long stick and starts poking through your wares. He's actually checking each item against the scroll, like he is hunting for a needle in a haystack, but with more bureaucratic paperwork. And just when you thought it couldn't get worse. Scene: the official steps forward and nods to the guard, who continues his inspection without missing a beat. It turns out that merchants are expected to pay an extra tax on any imported goods, no exceptions. You realize your entire business is now under this microscope, and there's no telling how much you'll owe in back taxes. You start wondering if it would be easier just to disappear for a while until the storm passes, but then another thought hits you. What happens when they find out I'm not even from here? Scene: you catch sight of yourself in a tarnished mirror behind the official. Your modern clothes stick out like a sore thumb among all the ancient garb. And that's when everything changes. "Prepare for your tax assessment," he says, handing one to each merchant around you. The papers are your new lifeline or your death sentence, depending on how much extra stuff you have lying around that needs paying for. But here's the kicker. Scene: you realize with a sinking feeling that there's no way to escape this without making it worse. Every day, without proper paperwork, means more fines and fees piling up. It's like being in a video game where your character keeps gaining XP, but also gets hit by random damage every second. And just when you think there's no way things could possibly get any crazier. Scene: the official leans back and looks at the scroll again, his eyes narrowing as if he's spotted something. He says something to his guard that makes your blood run cold. There is someone else here who needs a little reminder about tax laws. You turn around slowly, wondering whom he could be talking about when... And just like that, you realize you're not alone in this nightmare. Everyone else is stuck here too. All of them try to survive a system as complex and unforgiving as the night itself. And just like that, you realize you're not alone in this nightmare. Everyone else is stuck here too. Scene: merchants gathered around a dimly lit marketplace stall, exchanging weary glances and small talk you breathe in the cool evening air as the sun sets behind the distant hills, casting long shadows across the bustling market. The scent of burning wood mixes with the aroma of cooking food and fresh fish from the river nearby. Scene: merchants standing by a wooden stand selling various goods under lantern light. It's quiet now, after the rush of daytime trade has faded into dusk. You find yourself at one corner of the marketplace, surrounded by empty stalls and the hum of evening insects buzzing about. The day has been exhausting. You've bartered and argued with other merchants, navigated social politics, all while keeping a wary eye on your goods to prevent theft or damage. Scene: merchants settling down for the night at their stalls, but here's what nobody expected. As the market quiets, you realize that this life, this exhausting daily grind, isn't just about survival. It's also about legacy and community. The bonds forged through shared struggles are stronger than you ever imagined. Scene: merchants sharing stories around a small fire late at night, the hidden connection. Remember earlier when you mentioned the social hierarchy? Well, here's where things get interesting. Despite all the challenges, there's an unspoken understanding between merchants of different ranks and backgrounds. They respect each other not just for their wealth or status, but for their knowledge and perseverance in this unforgiving world. Scene: a group of merchants huddled together under the stars, exchanging nods and quiet words. It's like Uber, but with horses and plague. Every day is a new adventure, full of unexpected twists and turns. You wake up each morning not knowing if today will be your best or worst day yet. And that unpredictability, it's what makes this life both terrifying and thrilling in equal measure. And perhaps that's the strangest part. Not that they live this way, but that we forgot they ever did. Scene: you lying on a straw mattress, staring up at the dark ceiling of your merchant's south hut. Close your eyes now. Let the sounds of the Ming Dynasty fade into the background. You're safe in your warm bed, free from fleas and feudal hierarchy. Yet, as you drift off to sleep, remember this hidden world where every day was a struggle for survival and success. And tomorrow morning? Well, that's when the Real adventure begins again in this strange new life. But for now, rest easy knowing there's always another sunrise on the horizon.